Hello and welcome into the show. I am Andrew Laird. Happy Friday to everybody. Here to talk about the fact that I play games for a living. As much as you want to be able to say I actually have a livable wage off of these games or talking about them. Anyway, we're going to get into all of that today because it's Friday. We ain't got no jobs. Well, I guess that's the point that supposedly this is my job. But anyway, anybody who's watched Friday knows that they can how to finish that line. Yeah, welcome in everyone. Anyon, Pico Player, and Fraxi on the podium. Congratulations to you three. Fraxi said, I watch Laird not for a living, but to live better. Love that. Love that line. I should put that somewhere to get people to like sign up to the Patreon or something. Anyway, Dobbsy, what's up? JT, good to see you. TM, aloha to you. 6 comments from different users and only 4 likes. Oh, yeah, let's hit that like button. TM says 6. Oh, okay, we're at 6 now. Good. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Mikey Baston, what's up? It's Friday. It's 5 p.m. It's Laird o'clock, and the world is right again. Can we get a pants update, Mike? I don't know how warm it is there. Alex Wilson here after a nap. We love to see it. Laird doing the same as most women do to men for free. What was it? Play games? Ooh, I hear that. I hear that. Laird on a Friday. What better than this? Oh, appreciate that. Sean Kennedy, what's up? Harry Trades pants are off. Okay. There we go. Minito, hello. I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk just about SoRare today, which is why I just threw out the SoRare with Laird logo down there. Didn't want to necessarily just talk about MFL or just talk about Football.Fun or anything else I'm doing. And I kind of wanted to talk maybe about all of them or about none of them. I wasn't sure. But that's what we do here. We just kind of like figure it out as we go. And so that's it. And, that's what happens on a Friday. As those of you who are members of the Patreon, and actually, I guess I should change this design here on my, let's see. We got the Football.Fun one. I don't know if I have one with the Patreon logo there, but I should have it. But anyway, for anybody who is a supporting member of the Patreon, which costs as little as $5 a month, you can pay more if you want. There are options for that, so don't worry. But for, if you're like a min-maxer and $5 a month is what it is, the Patreon members had a Friday stream last week as well, and that one was just for members. And sometimes that happens. And so if you don't want to miss anything, check that one out. And there was actually a bunch of stuff that I talked about last week that I was comfortable sharing with members of the Patreon, and I don't know if I necessarily wanted it available to everybody. For those who are big like Spotify people or Apple Podcast, wherever the podcast, if you listen to the podcast as opposed to watching it on YouTube. And actually, I should check that. I think I opened up or reopened my Twitch account in order to stream. So if like you're a Twitch guy, oh yeah, it is there. It's twitch.tv/Andrew M. Laird. So you can figure that out. But the conversation last week kind of like made me start thinking about a lot of stuff. And part of it was kind of like how I got here, because last week I kind of had this, not realization, because I've noticed that for a while, but this kind of realization, I guess, that what I do now to earn a living is very different than what I've done for years, sort of. And I kind of talked about, what I think I'm getting right, the struggles I had. So if you are a Patreon member and a podcast listener, you can listen to the podcast through the Patreon app. That's the easiest way to do it. Spotify, linking Patreon and Spotify and Apple is not the easiest thing to do for members only content. They claim it is, but it just seems to never work. Or it gets given out to everybody, and then you kind of lose the benefit of being a Patreon supporter. So, yeah, there's that. But this one today, what is today? Friday, August 29th, is open to everybody, just because I felt like talking to everybody. Just Mike it is here. Mike, what's up? Hope you are doing well as well. Doing well as well. Yeah, good to see you. Look at that. Harry Trades just as excited. Yeah, been a minute, Mike. So thanks for coming in. I don't know if it's SoRare that brought you back in or the fact that I had some silly thumbnail that just made me look like an idiot. that hopefully you all enjoy. But I actually, as part of my love a Laird stream to kill time on the train. Oh, there we go. There we go. Good luck on the commute, Hatlingan. I assume that's the reason for the train. But the um, the reason I started thinking about this a little more today is because as part of my kind of general listening habits, I listen to these two guys named Colin and Samir who are like YouTube. They're like content. They do content for like content creators, basically, mostly on YouTube, but they talk about other things. And they were interviewing the CEO of Twitch, which is the episode I was listening to, and just talking about how communities kind of like perk up on Twitch around live streamers. And one of the conversations that we had last Friday, was about how I struggle to like define what my job is. Excuse me. And I think it was Mikey Baston here. Bolshoi Mike is here. We got a lot of mics. So I struggle to like telling people like what my job is. But part of what the way that I envisioned it when I started this channel, at least on my own, was being able to have kind of a community that yes, watches me, but also interacts with each other. And I think I told a story a while ago, and it was actually another Colin and Samir episode with the CEO of Twitch, a CEO of Patreon. And that got me to set up the Patreon as opposed to doing YouTube memberships. And I think it's worked out for the most part okay. One of the biggest reasons I did it is that the fees that Google takes from YouTube memberships is so much higher than Patreon. And so just if you were going to have the same idea of, become a member, just if you're trying to do this as your full-time job, doing it on Patreon just makes a little more sense. Now, being able to have like members only videos on YouTube that like show up in people's feeds is obviously much more consumer friendly than the way that I have to do it on Patreon. And particularly for people who aren't necessarily in the Discord, although they do get emails with the Patreon. But the conversation with the Twitch CEO was all about kind of like the community of people that watch live streamers, and that live streamers generally are on Twitch more than they are on YouTube. And some people are both, as I'm doing both now. And it kind of reminded me, or made me recognize that with the new content that SoRare have on their channel, which includes me, with SoRare Spotlight on Mondays, but it's in lots of different languages. And a lot of the people who they get that speak in other languages primarily stream on Twitch. And I think Twitch is certainly known more for live streaming. I mean, that's what they do. And while I tend to do more on YouTube, also most of the views of my videos are after it's live. Like most people are not here live, which I think is a negative to that. Like obviously not everybody can just make the live stream when it happens, but I think being part of the live chat and in the community is a big part of this experience. And one of the points that he made, I don't even remember what his name is, so I just keep calling him the Twitch CEO. But one of the points that he made was when you watch a live stream, it's not just about the streamer, because everybody who's in the live chat is kind of like a character in the show. And while I was like, wow, that's a really good point, it's also a point that all of our good friend Mike Baston said months ago, maybe it was years ago, Mike, who knows? But I was talking to Mike about when it was soon after I started live streaming solo. And I talked to Mike a decent amount about live streaming or content that happens. And he was just kind of like checking up on how I felt about live streaming solo for a while, because when I started, it was awful. I really, really hated it. And he made this point that I traditionally had done content with other people, whether it was like with Harry or Sean or Keith. And he was like, when you do the solo shows, it's just kind of like you and the live chat. It's just, you just have a different co-host. It just happens to be the live chat. And that totally changed my perspective of what I was doing. Like, honestly. And I went from thinking of solo streaming as people are just here to listen to me talk. And fundamentally, it changed to, I was having a conversation with you guys and we're all kind of chatting, and I just happen to be the one on the screen. And I've never looked at live streaming the same since then. And what I talk about obviously changes from show to show, whether it's about SoRare or Football.Fun or MFL, whatever it is. But ultimately, I try to do as much talking as I can while really just making sure you guys are part of it. And that's what I like so much about it now, that it doesn't feel like I'm just here alone. And when I did my first live streams, that's how it felt. And I was just like, man, this is kind of brutal. Now, obviously, having people participate in a live chat is what allows me to do it. And so thank you very much for everybody who's here and live and able to chat about it. Obviously, sometimes I just kind of go off on a stream of consciousness like I'm doing right now, but it's just been incredibly fun to do all of this. And I'm quite blessed to be able to do it. JPS said laughs with Laird. That's what Friday is all about. Yeah. So that's Friday. I don't want to necessarily just be like, this is what we're going to talk about every day. And Friday, I feel like, is a more open conversation. And so, yeah, that's what we were going to do today. One of the things that I have referenced a couple times over the years was kind of like how I got here. And I've told the story before. I think it was in one of my like earliest solo streams where I told the story. And I remember I cut off the end, or at least I made like the last, let's call it 20 minutes, take 5, because I had to leave. And I've referenced it here and there. And I know a lot of you who have watched my content for a while have heard the story, but I was considering going through it again today, only because I had this kind of realization of what I'm doing is just not what I ever thought I would be doing. And so, yeah, there's that. Jens, what's up? Mike said, I didn't realize it had that much of an impact. Thought I just gave you reassurance and confidence to carry on. I mean, it did give me reassurance and confidence for sure, Mike, but it absolutely had an impact. And I think for the positive. I think that there are enough people who are watching that this has become part of their routine. And I don't take that lightly. That, but also I like that we can all have fun with it. Like, that's what we're doing. You're not tuning in to get financial advice, or, for whatever serious reason. And you're not like, we're here to have fun. That's what we play, these games, and we have fun together. And I just happen to be the one to talk about it out loud. So yeah. Philly Dilly, what's up? Thanks for coming in. You answered an ad to meet behind a Wendy's. What did I say that warranted this response, ZM Star? I'm not sure. That sounds a little sketchy, though. I'm not going to lie. But yeah. So that's what. And there was another thing. What was it? There was another thing in this Twitch CEO interview that I was going to bring up, and this is what happens when I don't write things down. How you got started doing this? Oh, you answered an ad behind a Wendy's. Yeah. That is definitely not it. Alex, thank you for coming in and for saying hello. Yeah, that's funny. So I can tell the story of basically how I think I got here, or we just talk about something else. I don't know, whatever. I think what did the description? Oh, I just did say it's time to hang out, relax, and chat about all the games I play for a living. I don't necessarily, I guess you could make the argument I don't actually play them for a living, but maybe I do. I don't know. I was talking to Nep the other day because I was curious how much time he spends on the games that he talks about, whether it's FIFA, whatever they call it, EAFC, FC 24, 25, whatever. And SoRare and MFL. And I was like, how much do you do that not on stream? Because he streams like for hours and hours a day. And he was like, I actually do a lot. And then I was like, how much do you do not on camera? And I actually never ended up asking him that question. So I should follow up on that. But I realized that I end up playing these games a ton, not on camera. And I don't know if that's something that I should be doing or not. It's kind of a weird thing to put it that way. Nep has actually given me the advice for a while that I should just stream 8 hours a day. And I was like, I think there are people who watch me and watch him, and I don't think people are going to watch two live streamers all day. But sitting in front of a camera for 8 hours seems like a lot to me. You know, I like to stand up and go outside and stuff like that. Speaking of which, I went outside like an hour ago. I went for a little walk, and there's a little like pond by my house, and I went down, and there was this like turtle on the rock. And I was like, oh, look, a turtle. And I took a picture for my daughter and then realized I was zoomed in. When I zoomed out of the picture, there was actually a second turtle that was significantly bigger under the water. Sorry, I can't tell if you can. Maybe I can just pull it up on my computer here. And I was like, oh, wow, how about that? And I meant to send that to the Discord, but I forgot. So like, oh yeah, here it is. And these are the things that you get when you are a member of the Discord. So like, here is the turtle. There we go. That I originally saw. Whoa. Sorry. And then there's this one right here under the water, just chilling. Turtle Empire. Well, that's a great line. So yeah, go outside. Make sure you get out there because you never know what you'll see. Limited and rare lucky loser. Great. Anyway. Yeah, so let me head over to the chat. I saw you guys. Which game is really getting you excited out of all of them? I'm excited about all of them generally. Like I think they all offer really different things. I will admit that as weird as it sounds, I almost felt like a little overwhelmed today as I was trying to get my MFL team set for season 8 while getting my SoRare lineup set for this game week, while looking at the Football.Fun marketplace and thinking, should I redistribute my shares at all? And also, now that I'm, because I'm a full-time content creator, if you're interested in any of those games and haven't signed up yet, there are referral links in the description of the YouTube video that you can click, and that helps benefit me. And you also get stuff like in MFL, if you spend $25 from the store, so basically if you buy a new club or a bunch of new players from the packs, you'll get a free common player. If you use the SoRare one, I think I get market credits after you do something. I don't even know. And if you sign up with the Football.Fun one, after you reach rep level 10, which includes kind of like linking a bunch of, Discords and stuff, you'll get a free pro pack as well. So anyway, so I'm excited about all of them. They all offer kind of different things, which is what I really like about it. One of the things that I always talk about with MFL is that if you're somebody who gets really into other games, like fantasy games, like SoRare and Football.Fun are like fantasy platforms. They're the way that they work looks similar, but they're actually quite different. But MFL is not fantasy at all. It's a very different game. So I like to I almost use that as a break sometimes from the fantasy stuff. Philly Dilly was just looking for a cheap super rare forward for the international break. SoRare recommendation was Lamine Yamal. Thanks, SoRare. That's a good choice. See, and you guys thought like the power grades weren't going to be good, but that seems like it's good. You could play for a living if you withdrew more from SoRare. So, Mike, I don't win enough cash in SoRare for that to be the case. I have withdrawn from SoRare recently, though, like actually withdrew. It has nothing to do with like how I feel about the platform and everything. I just had money on there that I wanted to spend somewhere else, so I did it. Think videos have maybe more potential for new people over a 2-hour stream. So, Dobsy, I've talked about that with Mike Zakarian, actually. And I should have Mike back on because he and I do something very similar. And I just really like talking to Mike about this stuff. It's one of those shows that I don't know how much you guys want to hear about it, about like two content creators talking about, which ultimately becomes like the struggles of being a content creator. But he had mentioned that, yeah, YouTube starts sharing things like after you hit 2 hours. And the problem is that like once you get to 2 hours, the next is like, oh, you should just go 3 hours. And then like I get tingling in my feet. And so then like, what do I do at that point? But yeah, I think, I don't know. I had the arc of content that I've done. When I started, it was more like, don't go over 20 minutes because nobody wants to watch that much. And then it was like, oh, stretch it to an hour and then it's fine. And then for a long time, I've almost exclusively wanted to um, keep them to an hour, because the idea was like, when you see a new episode, like, it takes an hour to listen to it, or 30 minutes if you're a psycho like Keith Jameson who listens on 2x speed. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And to be honest, I've been going 1.5 on most things lately. But the more, every time I would go over an hour, everyone was like, "Oh, that was great. You should do more." And sometimes I just don't have more in me to talk about whatever the subject is, but sometimes I do more. Like I think Harry and I, how long did we go earlier this week? Hour and 40 minutes almost. And that seemed reasonable. And the SoRare Spotlight was just about they're all just about 2 hours. So I have this weird, I should just ask everybody generally, just like, would you prefer longer streams? I also have kind of a bigger opportunity now to do content because, and I hate to be this guy, and Mike Baston will certainly call me out on this, but like my 3 kids were home all summer. And so they always had to like be places. And so like I did 2 streams yesterday, one for MFL and one for SoRare. And I would like to do that. I think I would prefer to do like 2 separate streams and like one really long one that covers both. But would you guys just prefer me to talk longer or do more streams per day, or what it is? Because ultimately what I do, a lot of what I do is dependent on what people want to watch. And I don't really want to do the types of content that, like, I try not to do like clickbaity content. I'll play around with thumbnails and titles, but like we all know what you're getting. So but I want to do content that people want to watch as opposed to like content that people want to click on. And I realize that's totally counter to the way YouTube works, but I'm stubborn. And so I would prefer to do that, mostly because I think like I mean, to be honest, I make more money from the Patreon by people paying to get the content as opposed to YouTube running ads on my content. And I would prefer, like, looking at the people who support me through the Patreon, I'm I care more about what they want to watch than what YouTube is trying to push off to other people. Now, that obviously kind of limits the growth, I guess, but I mean, I'm talking about SoRare and Football.Fun and MFL. Like, how big can the unit? It's not like I'm going to get a million views on any of these. So I'm more conscious of trying to create content that you guys want to watch more often, and content that people are willing, that feel like they are willing to pay for it. I know you don't like the idea of doing standalone videos on the games, but I think it could open up a whole new audience who might find you that way. So I guess I should have just read that before I just went on that whole thing. Although JPS, I have been thinking about that. I did a few of them for MFL early on before I started MFL with Laird, which was kind of a live stream thing about it. And I've thought about that a lot. I think I'm going to try to do it a little more for MFL. The problem is that I just like the live chat part of it. Obviously, I can do both, but I think I am going to do that JPS. But it also feels like that kind of content then needs to be more created to get clicks instead of views. And I know that sounds like it should be the same thing, but it's not. Yeah. Yen said, without camera, I think your thoughts are sharper, not that they are not sharp in front of the camera. The best ideas come when you are a bit bored and not too busy with too many things. Jens, what do you mean by where do you see my sharp thoughts that are not on camera? Hmm, sorry. Um, Don Q, what's up? Sad? Why are you sad? Sad to be back from holiday, but your stream softened the blow. Oh, I appreciate that. Um, Philly Dilly said MFL seems most interesting to me. Basically, Football Manager with a bit more economy. So the economy is definitely a part of it, but I would argue that the biggest difference between Football Manager is that you're competing against other human beings. You made me buy a new MFL club today. That should be your advert for it. Yeah, I need somebody to sign up and spend $25 this month, or else big problems. Anyway, Philly Dilly, are you on MFL? Move in. What's up? The plug smoother and smoother with every stream. I assume that's for the Patreon, but maybe it's something else. Which game do you like the most right now? That I like them all. SoRare does have a withdraw button. It's extremely it passes out for hearing Larry. It's extremely scary though. I withdrew ETH. I actually didn't withdraw cash. I don't even know how to do that. I'm not even sure you can do that in the United States cheaply, but I withdrew ETH. Because I'm a crypto guy. But that's what I did. Halligan said, it's so foreign to me that people go outside and just see all these different animals like turtles, like it's a normal thing. I never see anything cool. So it's not like I live near well, I actually do live near a zoo, but it's not like, I don't know. Are turtles that crazy? Like I grew up in New York City, so it's not like I grew up seeing a bunch of animals. I saw a raccoon walk across my neighbor's driveway yesterday. Didn't love that. But who gives a crap what we want all the time? If we want to do one with Mike now and again because you enjoy talking to him, then do it. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. But I care. Like honestly, like Mike, I need you guys to like what I'm doing so that you keep coming back. On the MFL channel, you could do match reaction vids, wouldn't take too long and may gain attraction. Dobbsy said that. Yeah. So Mike says you're the boss. So one of these content podcasts that I listened to said just the opposite. Like you're the boss. I don't know which one is. I don't know if one is right or the other, but it's one of those. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, but if nobody wants to hear about it, then I'm going to have to talk about something else. It's a very weird. It's a very weird relationship because, yeah, like if you're an artist, if you write music and you write the music that you want to write and nobody listens to it, but you want to have it be a career, ultimately you're going to have to make music that people want to listen to. And maybe once they all love your music, then you can change it up. You do like a big change like the Beatles did, but that was more LSD related than anything else. But I don't know. Do what you enjoy and the content will be better for it. Your passion comes through. Thank you, JPS. That's the goal. Like that's what I try to do. And when I start talking about different games like MFL and Football.Fun, and I specifically mention those because I've been doing SoRare content for years, but I mention those because I really enjoy those games. That's why I talk about them. And while I have developed a relationship with those companies, whether they sponsor certain content or I'm affiliate and I am an affiliate of theirs, I wouldn't do that if I didn't really like playing the games. I've had plenty of opportunities to bring on sponsorships of mostly Web3 games, but other like platforms that I just look at them and I'm like, either I don't have the time to play those things or I just don't think I would enjoy them. And so I turn them down. I love this long streams. I just think some short videos on the channel may help get more people in with kind of a teaser to what you're like. So I think the real key is just splicing up these streams. That's kind of like what Nep does. Like his MFL videos, I think, are mostly just spliced content from his 8-hour streams. But you're right. I think I should do some more short videos. Yen said you could I really should just catch up on the chat before I keep talking. Cut together the most valuable parts of a podcast and create a video. The guys who watch the podcast could skip the video, be kind of split audience, but would be an idea. Yeah. I think the shorter individual ones are better for you, which in quality terms will make it better for us. What do you mean they're better for me, Mike? If you don't want to split audience, you could even do a second channel, one with podcasts and one with videos to play around. Yeah. Do you multi-stream to Twitch or other platforms as well? Rob, right now I'm on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. Reward videos like Nep and Harry. Yeah. I'm going to do so we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I want to do a crafting stream next week because I'm currently on, hold on, let's look. I currently have 29,362 limited essence and 16,000 rare essence. I entered a bunch of arenas and we'll see how the weekend goes. But I think I'm going to use the international break to stream and to craft. And I'll certainly do that on stream. JPS, we like watching you. So when you're enjoying what you're doing, it's good for us. I think you need to worry less and focus more on enjoyment. Sure. Yen said, I didn't mean you in person with sharper thoughts without the camera. I mean, in general. Oh, maybe you're different. So I'm not any smarter off camera. Halligan said, my MFL hype came and went in less than one season. Yeah, I mean, it's not for everybody. I get it. No animals in Norway? Oh, well. Yippee-ki-yay, what's up? Zach said, when I go to Miami games, I drive through Alligator Alley and pass like 50 gators on the side of the road. That is fun. That's crazy. Mike Basson, what I mean is the majority of the time you do stuff based on what we want, but once in a while, why can't you do something for you? Mike, this isn't, I mean, obviously I'm doing content for you guys, but this is all for me. Like I'm trying to think of like a specific instance where I did a stream about something I didn't really want to talk about. And I can't, like, I don't, and I think that's why you guys watch, because you know that what I'm talking about is what I want to talk about. I hope. TM said there was a huge praying mantis on our sliding door the other day, and let me tell you, nature is scary. So there was so funny you say that. I had a dragonfly on our screen door, and we have these shades. It's like it's a sliding door, but we have these two shades that open up, and I opened them like first thing in the morning, and there was a dragonfly just stuck on the screen like this, and I was just like, whoa. Good morning. Goose said, is there a certain viewer count that is required for you to personally enjoy streaming it? I'm not sure I understand the question. Like, more viewers is always great. And I have plenty of times where I will stream, maybe not as much now, where there are like 10 people. Like last Friday, we did the Patreon stream, and in the live stream, there were only, at best, 15 people there. Let me see if I can pull it up. And now again, like, did you guys, sorry, looked like my internet went out for a second. Can you guys just let me know if I'm back? I think I'm back. Yeah, okay. So looking back at that stream, and like what I mentioned before, most people tend to watch the live streams after, but last week's live stream currently has 51 views. And that's a video just for Patreon members. And I have more than 51 people who are members of the Patreon. Maybe they tried to listen to it on the Patreon app, but the where was I going with that? Oh, so like I said, there were 12, maybe 15 people in the live chat. That's more than enough. And it's a lot of people who are here right now because it was a Friday, Friday 5:00 in the UK. And so I don't think there's a required amount, but it's almost the same thing. Like the more people who watch, then maybe the more people who become Patreon members, or there's somebody with some company that sees it and then they're like, oh, I want to sponsor you. And it just, I don't know. Dobsy said, South Wales, we have sheep and that's about it. See, like I don't have sheep here, at least like roaming around. So that's, I hope it's fun to watch me craft. We'll see. That's a lot of restraint. Halligan, did you say this on Twitter or maybe in another one? What are you waiting for? Prices are only going down. Like I really just don't think of getting cards as getting money out of them. So prices going down, like what I really want is to craft a bunch of PSG cards for my League One or some contender, like European contender ones. I will say one of the reasons I'm waiting, and I mentioned this to Gator Guy today, that I think my willingness to use Essence to play the arena is partially because I have so much that I don't see like a significant drop in my Essence balance. And so I'm willing to play like 1,000, like 10 arenas for 1,000 Essence. But if I only had like 2,000 Essence, maybe I wouldn't do it. But part of the reason I was waiting is because I just wanted to get some banger cards and to like ensure it. Rob said, had no idea it was on Twitch as well, so dropped a follow. So Rob, I started that today. So thank you for doing it. At least I don't have to worry about poisonous spiders and snakes. Yeah, I hate snakes. There's a squirrel fighting a pigeon outside, if that counts. Ooh. Wasn't there a TV show about that? Like Shark versus Lion or something like that? Did you direct the dragonfly to the Patreon link? I should have. Alex owns a snake. Man, I hate snakes. Oh my goodness. I made a wild deer jump over a fence onto my street a few years back. How did you make it do that, Wumbler? What does that even mean? Sellers UK, don't have to answer it, but what makes you the most money from your content stuff? Sponsorships, which is funny because as I was listening to this Twitch CEO podcast, one of the things that they talked about was how important sponsorships are to a lot of creators, and that it takes a while for smaller creators to even get a sponsorship. But once they do, they end up being the biggest part. Now, I would love it if the Patreon was the biggest part, because sponsorship, well, people could, I've had plenty of people join the Patreon and then cancel, but sponsorships also can just disappear at any moment. And having to spend time like searching out sponsorships, I guess, although to be honest, I haven't done that yet, but this isn't sustainable without sponsorships. And I think that's the case for most people. Like even look, like Nellis, I'm guessing makes more from sponsorships than anything else now. And so that's why I'm so thankful for Football.Fun and MFL for sponsoring the shows. And I mentioned on last week's show about SoRare, which I'm going to keep that part to people who are Patreon members. If you're very interested in how that story went down, you can become a Patreon member and go back and watch that video. Yeah. Anyway, are you a full-time gamer? Shawshank. Ooh, watching from X. Gamer. I don't know. Like I think so. One of the things that came out of that Twitch conversation was that people who are like full-time gamers are not like they're very good at the games that they play, but that's not why people watch them. And I think that's what a lot of people thought it used to be, that watching people play like League of Legends or Call of Duty or whatever it was very what originally was. It's just like professional sports. We watch professional sports because we want to watch the pinnacle of that activity. So these are the best players in the world doing this thing that we either also do or just like watching. And that's the point of professional sports, so that we can see the highest level of football or basketball or whatever it is. And there was kind of this thought of watching gamers, people who play video games, whether it's Fortnite or, like I said, League of Legends or whatever. Some people watch that because it's like, I want to see what the best League of Legends players in the world do. But a lot of people who are like considered gamers or streamers are good at those games, but you're not watching them for that. You're watching to see how they respond to it or what they talk about during it, or it's something to react to, and that provides the content. And so I wouldn't ever call myself a gamer because like I think that implies more like video games anyway. But I don't know, maybe I am. Magnus said, I basically pet a cow last weekend. They walk around close to my summer house. Wow. How about that? What's up? I'm a few minutes behind, but catching up on 2X. Did I hear a crafting stream? Yes, I think next week. Realistically, how many League On cards would you want to craft since you're already playing 4 lineups? I mean, if they're good cards, then plenty. Wild Animal Battles. There you go. Yeah, Animal Planet. Look at this, also on Twitch. Let's go. We're just waiting for Hims to call us. Yeah, I mean, after not getting anything from Ridge Wallet, and then do I have my wallet on me? Oh, I don't. I bought a fake Ridge wallet just to stick it to him. Actually, the first sponsorship I ever had on a show was when I worked for RotoWire, and I did a weekly FPL podcast. It wasn't even really FPL. It was just like a Premier League podcast with my friend Mike Gottlieb, who I haven't talked to in a long time. I wonder how he's actually, I follow him on Instagram, so I know what he's up to. But anyway, there was a new clothing company, which I assume still exists. Oh, they do still exist, named Mack Weldon. This is what maybe I can get a Mack Weldon sponsorship also. So Mack Weldon, the two founders of Mack Weldon liked our show, and they contacted RotoWire and they're like, we want to sponsor your soccer show for a while. And they were like, okay, just pay us to do that. And they were like, so part of the sponsorship though is that we want to send Mike and Andrew. So they sold underwear and socks at the time. They didn't have a full clothing line. So they were like, yeah, here's a credit, buy yourself $100 worth of underwear and socks and just talk about it on the show. And so we did. And so that's the first like real sponsorship that I ever was a part of. And then Andy and I for SoRare Andrews tried to get Ridge Wallet, but they never listened. But maybe Mack Weldon will come back. I don't know. And Hims, yeah, like they should. What's funny is all of the talk over the years about how SoRare should get sponsored tournaments, like, oh, they should just get Nike to sponsor a $50,000 tournament. It's like SoRare is not big enough for that. And I think that's the problem with me finding sponsorships like that, is that Nike, not enough people get that. But then we're probably too small for Hims too. See, now sponsorships are the topic you can discuss with Zakarian. I think didn't we talk about that already or no? Honestly, you really need to get a fitness tracker sponsorship. You've already got the perfect line. Like, honestly, honestly. That's the biggest reason why I should be creating content that gets hundreds of thousands of views so that I could finally get Fitbit, which is owned by Google now, to just say, yeah, we'll give you some money for it. Dobbsy said gamer streamers have two types, and that's skill or personality. Then you have a rare mix of both. Yeah. Yeah. And ZM Star just hitting us all from all angles. So much appreciated. Ranjan, what's your top 5 video games? I don't even play video games. I buy video games because my son plays them. League of Legends with Laird would be fun. So League of Legends, I did League of Legends content because they had daily fantasy League of Legends during COVID. And I got into fantasy League of Legends. And it's available on DraftKings. It might have been on, it was definitely on FanDuel. I don't know if it's still there. But I remember writing about it. The daily fantasy League of Legends is an awesome game. It's so fun. But it's also solved a bit. Like, you know exactly what you need to do. It's just about coming down with the right combinations. But I remember writing about it for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I got really into it. And I was like, oh, I've never actually like watched League of Legends before. And I sat down to watch it, and I had no idea what I was looking at. And I was like, I had no idea. And I played mostly sports games growing up. Like, I played the best video game ever made was NBA Live 95, and you'll never convince me otherwise. But like NBA Jam and Madden, Tiger Woods golf was like awesome. As I was like in college, I would play hours and hours of it. But I just don't play video games that often, honestly. My son loves FIFA though, and he plays mostly sports games too. He got into Fortnite a little bit, but I don't think he plays that much anymore. Ricardo, what's up? I just came back from doing some calisthenics. All right, there we go. Sorry, my live chat got all mixed up. What are your splits? Oh, is this from like how much I make from each one? I think it's like 50, it might be 50% sponsorship, if not more. Very little of it is from YouTube, which I mentioned during last week's show. That boxer shit just got this demonetized. Oh, you think so? Oh no. Become a Pixel super fan. I am a Pixel super fan. I just got an email about it, actually. Andy said one of those mystery shirts or match day shirt companies would be the one worth reaching out to since it so closely aligns with your content. That's a great idea. Doris Burke being traded for Legler is a travesty for NBA Finals coverage. Did that happen? FIFA 98. I meant top 5 all time. So NBA Live 95 is number 1. NHL 94 might be number 2. Contra's got to be in my top 5. I probably played Tiger Woods. I don't even know did they do years by then? I played more Tiger Woods my senior year of college. That was like 2002, 2003 than probably any video game ever. You know what makes me feel really old, but a game that I just absolutely love, and maybe I think it is, of course, it's considered a video game. I always love Tetris. I think Tetris is a phenomenal game, mostly because you kind of like feel smart if you do really well. And yeah. Oh, my Essence splits. I went a little TMI on you there. So 70% All-Star, 23.8% League On, 3% Contender, and 2.85% MLS for my limited Essence, and my Rare is 12% MLS. I have no idea how I have 12% MLS because I literally do not play MLS Rare. But anyway, All-Star, Contender, and a little Champ. Robert said, I also got really into SoRare MLB before I even knew how baseball worked. Yeah, it's the same idea. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is my GOAT game. Okay. Oh, GoldenEye was a great game. I can hear the music right now. There's a great meme about like the music that was made for that. Or not a meme. Well, maybe it was. I don't know. Did you ever play? I did play NHL Hits. Yeah. Weren't they like really big and you just like beat the hell out of each other? Yeah, GoldenEye, where you peeking his half of the screen. Yeah. NHL 94, where you could fight and make them bleed, was king. Yep. If you never earned more money than you do now, would it be enough to remain a content creator? Let me look. Probably. Sorry, I like keep track of it. Yeah, the answer is probably. The thing is, it's like I do some like side work also for RotoWire. Like I wrote those articles for about Football.Fun for RotoWire, so like I kind of count that as well, and I do some other work for them. So, but again, it kind of like because the sponsorships are really important to me. Hopefully, those continue. Long may they continue. There we go. Will you try FM26 when it comes out? Haglingen, I have never in my entire life played Football Manager. If you watch Swingers, you know you can't do both of those things in that particular game. Oh, it was at 95 that they started? These are all solid games. Definitely spent time on those. A game named Winning Post was my favorite from way back. I don't know that game. Winning Post, video game series. Oh my goodness. It's like a horse racing game. I mean, Oregon Trail, also a great one. Pro Evo 2 was one of my favorite football games. I believe that. Those are good. Andy said in 94 you can make their heads bleed but couldn't fight. Oh, okay. Okay. Blue Tomatoes, of course I have a spreadsheet for. If there's anything that you should have a spreadsheet for is like accounting. Yes, I literally track it in a spreadsheet. Have you always worked in fantasy sports? Rob, that's a great question and was going to be the topic for today. GTA San Andreas, played that when I was way too young. I think I'm still too young. Buzz with Jason Donovan was always fun with a group of people. I don't even know what that is. And obviously, I was just joking about it. I mean, I'm sort of. You know, it was a great game, or I think it was called. What was the? It was like a hand. It was definitely a handheld Sega console. That and there was a game on it. I think it was called California Games, and you could. There was like a surfing part. Yes, this is it. Sorry. California Games. What was this on? Oh, wait, maybe it wasn't California Games. This says Commodore 64. Wow. NES. No, I thought it was a Sega thing. What was the Genesis? NES? I didn't think there was hacky sack. You're right. Maybe I'm mixing it up. What was I swear it was Genesis, but maybe not. Sega Genesis. Yeah, California. Whoop. Rollerblades. Wow. Yeah, where you could go surfing. I loved this game. But I thought, what was the rollerblading was bullshit. Anyway, that one was really fun too. And raise your hand if you're old enough to have a Game Boy. That's OG Nintendo. Yeah, but I swear I played California games on that. Wait, Sega Genesis handheld console. No, I guess it wasn't Genesis. Oh, was this it? The Nomad? This was it. Game Gear. This was it. Oh, Sean's here. There you go. Sean, thank you. Tony Hawk Pro Skater was good. That was really good. You're right. Dobsey's just too young. Who falls on Game Gear. There we go. I loved that thing. I didn't even have it. My friends did, and every time they had it, I was like, "Oh, I'll take that." Sorry, who asked that question? Rob, have you always worked in fantasy sports? Rob, the answer is no. Stock up on batteries. Yeah, you got like 25 minutes on those things, and then it was like, all right, 8 more AAA or AA batteries. Do we want to go through the whole story of how I ended up in fantasy sports? Can remember Ace of Spades by Motorhead in it, collecting the letters. I don't remember that. That's funny though. I'll try to get through the story quickly, even though I said I was not going to. I didn't want to rush it, but so I look up and I see we're in the 58th minute, if you will. And I was like, oh man, should we finish soon? Or is it like we have another hour or 4 hours? I don't know. I actually probably can't sit that long. So to answer your question, Rob, no, I have not always. The days when batteries were the best present ever. So fun fact. When I was growing up on Christmas morning, my younger brother and I were allowed to open one present from our stocking before everybody woke up. And my parents used to put batteries, like wrap batteries, in our stockings. And I remember I forget how old I was, but it was like I got to an age where I figured it out that they were batteries. But I don't think I had figured it out that it wasn't Santa. But I remember that where I was like, I would literally open it like batteries, great. And I probably wasn't even old enough to realize that meant I was getting something that required batteries, but whatever. So yeah. And yet to this day, we still need batteries. All I want in life, I said to somebody the other day, because the new Pixel came out, and I was like, oh, should I get a new phone? And I was like, the only thing that they can do for a phone now that would make it better for me is to not have to charge it. I don't need a better camera. I don't need a better screen. I don't need it to be faster. I just need to not have to charge it. I still have a drawer full just in case. I've been burned so many times. I have like rechargeable batteries too, that they're okay. They're not great, but it's like I have I have 3 kids. Someone always needs a battery. TV remotes are the killer now, still with batteries. Well, I appreciate like the Apple TV one that you can at least charge. Blue Tomatoes, I think I have the 6 Pro. Like it's been a while since I've gotten a new phone, but it's perfectly fine. I charge it once a day. Handheld game consoles with no backlight were a killer. Yeah. My missus always Michael, watch yourself. So I have a battery sorter in my drawer. Does anyone else? It holds the 9-volt for the smoke alarms. See, my smoke alarms have AA. That reminds me of the new series of Slow Horses on Apple TV is soon. I don't know what that is. I'd take a phone upgrade that could manage my MFL agency. Ranjan, I'm fairly certain you put yourself in that position. Anyway, let me tell the little story about how I got here. Now that we're an hour in. I'll go back to when I first started working after uni, and I'll call it uni because there's a bunch of Europeans here, but we just call it college. I grew up in New York City. I love putting a comment that gets. I think we all know, anybody who watches me regularly knows that it takes very little to get me off track, but I'm going to try for a little bit here. So if I ignore the live chat while I'm telling this story, I apologize, and I will get back to it. So when I was a boy, when I was 21, I graduated from college. I moved back home. This was in 2003. That's when I graduated college. So I got a job that summer at we'll call it an investment bank. It was a place that I had done an internship the previous summer, and my mom worked there. She got me the internship, and then the internship got me a job. And I worked in a department that processed loans for rich people that used their stocks and bonds as collateral for these loans that they would use to buy not more stocks and bonds, but like houses and cars and just rich people stuff. And it was very rewarding work, going to work every day, sitting at a desk for 8 to 10 hours, having lunch at my desk, and absolute nepotism, and helping rich people buy cool stuff. And by really rewarding, I mean not at all. But I actually worked with some really fun people. It was like a fairly young group. So like we would go out most nights and get blasted and then show up to work all hungover. It was great. It was great. I worked there for a little while, and then a guy I worked with went and worked for another company. And then I left to work with him. And that job, I went from helping rich individual people buy really cool stuff to working for an investment bank that lent money to hedge funds so that they could invest into other hedge funds. And both of my parents were in finance. They like worked on Wall Street, if you will. Actually, my dad wrote a book about it. I turned it around because I thought it was in here. It is in here. Hold on. This very interesting book, Investing in the Future, 10 New Industries and Over 75 Key Growth Companies That Are Changing the Face of Corporate America. And that's my dad right there in the middle. I've actually never read that book. Let me see. What was the copyright? 1982. So anyway, so it just made sense for me to go into finance because that's where my parents went. My older brother did that as well. It is the wooden chair. Did you hear the wooden chair? If we were going to take this to the next level, this is what I sit on for all streams. I had a cushion, but it was bigger than the seat itself, and so it was all thrown off. How does your dad feel about NFT investments? I don't know. Laird has been on Ponzi schemes since he was a boy. No wonder he's so comfortable in the crypto space. It's great. My dad is not Warren Buffett. You followed in your dad's footsteps with the middle initial. So Sean, I will personally fundraise for a new chair. The chair might be older than me. I'll go into the Patreon so you can get a new chair. This is not the chair I sit on all day. Like when I'm not on stream, I don't even sit in this room. So don't worry about it. I don't mind the chair. It's really not that bad. So I'm going to do a quick side note here. So Sean, the reason I use my middle initial as much as I do is because when Gmail accounts came out, a chair sponsorship. That's a good idea. Anyway, when Gmail email addresses came out. I tried to get Andrew.Laird and it was taken. And I remember trying to sign up for it, and Google was like, that account is taken. And so I did Andrew M. Laird, which is at Gmail. That's my email address. And I remember I got drunk one night and emailed the guy with Andrew.Laird at Gmail telling him that he stole my email address. He never wrote back. But since then, it's just like I've typed that in so often that I don't know. It just happened to always use it. This stream is sponsored by Herman Miller and is 10 hours long because it's that comfy. My butt fell asleep just seeing that chair. All right. Anyway, let me get comfortable. So I worked in this investment bank, and I like the people I work with, but I hated the work. Now, additionally, I met my current wife, then girlfriend, when we were both in school. And she did not live in New York. So we did like a long distance relationship thing for a while. And I moved out to where I live now, or at least close by, as I say, because she won. It was either like she moved to New York or I moved out here, and like she was never moving to New York City. So this is a good idea, trading a SoRare card for that email address. Sorry, Pierre said someone has the same for my name, but the crazy thing is my surname is the weirdest surname you will get, and my first name is also quite rare. His chair is Merman Hiller. Laird has just turned into Ronnie Corbett. I don't know who that is. You need to be British. The height of it. So it's only down though, Mike. You can only go down from this chair. Anyway, so I started when I was working at the investment bank. I was commuting from where I live now, and it was like a 2-hour trip each way. It was just brutal. And I remember when I was living at home after school, like after uni, and would go to work every day. And I remember having this conversation with my mom, because I lived with her, that that I was going to move out here. And she was like, what are you going to do? Like, is that what you're going to do for the rest of your life? Like, is this what you want to do? Have this job and whatever it was. And she was like, I'm not like trying to convince you not to like move out there. Like, obviously, as we know, like my wife turned out to be my wife, but it was really like, is this the career that you want? And it wasn't at all. And so I decided to get my master's in sports business from New York University. And I always loved sports, and being able to work in sports was a really cool concept. And I moved to outside of New York in a area called Connecticut, which is where ESPN is headquartered. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll basically go to school to career change and go work at ESPN. And so I started taking classes part-time while I was working, and I would leave the house at like 6:30 in the morning, and the days that I had classes, I would get home at like midnight, and then I would just do the same thing over again. And one of the weird things that ended up allowing me to accelerate my degree was the Bernie Madoff disaster. Now, the company that I worked for had lent money to a lot of hedge funds that invested in Bernie Madoff. And when shit hit the fan, the bank that I was working for lost a ton of money, and they were looking for people to take sabbaticals because they basically wanted to stop paying people so much without laying everybody off. And so I took a 6-month sabbatical to finish my master's. And after the 6 months, I went back to my job, and I worked there for like 2 weeks, and went back to work for 2 weeks. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to quit so I can spend all of my time trying to get a job in sports. And so I quit. And a little while after I quit, my wife got pregnant with our first child. And I was like, all right, I'll go find a job at ESPN. And I interviewed for a couple of jobs there. But if you guys remember, like the Bernie Madoff thing was only a small part of it. Like the economy basically like crashed, and um, it ended up being a really tough time to find a job. And so I ended up going to a couple interviews at jobs at ESPN. One job I had a friend who worked there, and so he got me. It wasn't even like an interview; it was just kind of like a discussion with somebody there of what jobs might be available. And they were like, "We actually do have like a couple that you might be interested in." I ended up applying to one of them, interviewed. They offered me the job right after the interview, and I turned it down because it paid so little. Now I'm coming from having worked in finance. Finance jobs tend to pay more than jobs in sports anyway, but it was just such a drastic salary drop that I was like, I'll find something better. And um and I never did. Now, at the same time that I was doing this, I was working for RotoWire a little bit, writing about American football. I thought I might have had a stack of RotoWire magazines somewhere. But anyway, so I did a little work for them for free, and then I eventually got like promoted, and that got me $50 a month to do some like sporadic work for them. And the more I did for them, the more I, was like, oh, maybe I can make a little more from them. But it was it was a part-time job that was like 3 hours a week. Like it wasn't that much. So fast forward, no jobs available. My wife has our baby, and I become a stay-at-home dad, and which I never intended to be the case, but it was. And while like I was looking for a job where not many jobs existed, home with my son, and so I contacted RotoWire and I was like, hey, if you guys have any other work, I'll take it. And so I kind of like built up my hours a little bit, but I was still making like dozens of dollars a month, maybe hundreds at best, working hourly. And one day um, got kind of this offer of like, hey, or I'm sorry, I reached out and I was like, if there's any more work, like they had given me a bunch, but I was like, if there's any more, I'm home with like a newborn baby. I got a lot of time to do stuff like newborn babies. When you look back, you realize how much free time you have. When you're in it, it feels like you never get to sleep. You never have free time, but I had the time. So a lot of it was like writing player notes. And if you play any sort of fantasy sport, you're probably familiar with player notes that look like this. So, there's a headline, this guy was hurt, and then there's like an analysis. So RotoWire invented this 30 years ago. And so this is what I did. I wrote a bunch of these things, and they paid me for it. So one day I was like, hey, I'd like to do some more work. And the founder and president of the company was like, okay, we got a new deal with ESPN for their fantasy. They have a fantasy Premier League game. And we have somebody who writes player notes for it, but we just got to make sure that they actually get done. Do you want to just like edit the notes, make sure they get done? And I was like, yeah, sure, definitely. And I remember hanging up the phone and wondering what I had done, because up until that point, I don't think I could have named a single professional football team. Maybe Manchester United. Actually, I definitely could name Manchester United and AC Milan, because I had I had once gone to a Manchester United, who Tim Howard played for, AC Milan game at Giant Stadium right outside of New York, wearing a Metro Stars shirt. I bet I can find the picture. But basically I was like, sorry, ZM Star is throwing me. This story now explains why your wife seems like the coolest person. Currently, you're exceeding all of her expectations. Hardly. But seriously, being a stay-at-home dad is great, and COVID made me work from home. Yeah, I mean, shout out to all stay-at-home dads, or those who are trying to work while they do it. Harry Trade's getting the full look right now. Let's see. Manchester United. Oh, here we go. I do have a picture of it. So this is me and my friend at that game. Packed house. And yeah, I'm wearing an original Metro Stars jersey, and he was a Manchester United fan, so he wore the Manchester United jersey. Anyway, when was this picture? I can't even tell now. Oh, here we go. That was 2004. Anyway, so I literally haven't been like I ended up being like their soccer editor, having no idea anything about soccer. And I remember watching Tottenham Europa matches because I was like, I just got to like learn about soccer. And I'm sorry that I keep calling it soccer, but like that's what we called it. And so I watched any soccer that was on, and which is funny because MLS was actually hard to watch. Blue Tomatoes, I'm actually in better shape today than I am when I was 24 for sure, and probably 34. So I basically threw myself into it. I tried to learn as much as I could, mostly just about the Premier League. And I realized that there were a lot of similarities between how the Premier League can be covered from a news perspective, how similar it is to the NFL. Like games are basically once or twice a week. There are press conferences with presumably injury reports. And so I went to my boss and I was like, hey, I think we could like blow out our Premier League coverage. Can I do it? And he was like, go nuts, whatever you want. And I think I ended up growing it a lot more than he ever expected. And it ended up that I started working more. They put me on a different, I love this. The English named it soccer and then changed it. They created the problem. Amen. Shout out to Jimbo. So one of the other things that I did was when I was looking for work was they put me on this other project that I had a call with the guy who ran this project on New Year's Eve. I remember it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock on New Year's Eve. And he had just been swamped with this project. And I was like, Pete, who was my old boss who ran the company, I was like, Pete told me to call you because he said you could use some help. And we went through this whole project where basically we would write actual news, like headlines that would be, or not just headlines, but like little, like 1 to 2 sentence blurbs that would go on this site, this stats site. And they wanted to have some news stuff too. So they outsourced it to RotoWire. And he was like, if you could do like an hour or two a day, that would be really, whenever you could, that would be great. And so I started doing it and I was like, I'm home all day. Like I'll go for some walks with my son, but like I'm basically home all day. I can do 6 hours a day if you want. And he was like, let's do it. Cause he was the only one. Each note had to be written by somebody and then edited and approved. And he was the editor. And so no matter how many writers they had, he had to like read everything. And this is news that happened 365 days a year. So I remember very vividly working on this project, and it was like Christmas morning and I had to like go to work for a little bit. So while I did the Premier League stuff, that's when we started doing lineups and lineup projections. And so I would have to be on my computer when lineups were announced, and I would work hours on the weekend. I basically worked 7 days a week because I was working hourly with effectively no cap. And at some point they were like, we need to hire you full-time, which is exactly what I wanted to do. And so they hired me full-time to be the head of the soccer content department, basically. And I took over the DFS content stuff. And I basically was like a remote worker for RotoWire. And they are based in Madison, Wisconsin, and asked me to move out there. And I was like, I can't. My wife and all our families are here, and I can't do it. And they were like, okay. I know it's Christmas, but Sir Alex is changing the haircut policy. So it's not quite that bad, but like I remember one of the Christmas news stories was about how the LeBron sneaker had just come out or something, and we had to like write about that. Like it wasn't even just fantasy; it was just like general sports stuff. So anyway, so while I was at RotoWire, I started a podcast about the Premier League. Eventually, it became like a fantasy Premier League podcast, not necessarily about the FPL game, but there were other games that popped up. Fantrax, which actually still has it. If anybody used to play Taga, was another one, and so there were all these like fantasy companies that popped up that had like Premier League games, and so I would kind of become aware of these Premier League games or these different soccer games. And I would contact like the sales guy at RotoWire, and I was like, I think they should buy player notes or get our lineup or whatever it is. And I basically had like a number of different roles at RotoWire, but the main one that everybody saw was me. I was, I don't know, what was my title? Senior soccer editor. That's what it was. So I used to start every podcast like that. I'm Andrew Laird, senior soccer editor of RotoWire. And I remember one day while I was working, somebody had reached out to me. So we had at RotoWire, I convinced them to get OptaStats, particularly for for DraftKings, because once DraftKings launched a Premier League game, it kind of all exploded from that. And so I did a ton of DFS content, and eventually I was like, we should have, where are they here? Stats. And so I helped develop this page where you could get like Premier League stats. I mean, you could do Premier League, Champions League, La Liga, Liga, and whatever. Basically anything that RotoWire, that DraftKings had, we had. And so I did a ton of content about. It started as daily fantasy Premier League, and then when DraftKings got other leagues, we did content about that. I wrote tons of articles about all different leagues. I wrote about the K League years ago. I was right when COVID started. Like the K League was still going on, the Turkish Super League, and I wrote about those. And basically, I became kind of like a DFS soccer guy, content guy. And ironically, that's what Keith Gator Guy 231 did as well. And we didn't really know each other back then. Like we kind of like knew of each other, but we kind of just worked, in our own companies and whatnot. So so somebody contacted me one day and was like, hey, could you add last man tackles to the OptaStats you have on RotoWire? And I was like, I guess. And I was like, do you have any others? And they sent me like the SoRare scoring matrix. And they were like, any of these would be great. And I was like, what do you need these for? And they were like, yeah, it's for this game called SoRare. And I hate that I don't remember who contacted me for these things. I feel like it's somebody who's still active in the community, or at least in my community. And so I learned about SoRare, and I contacted our sales guy, and I was like, hey, there's this new fantasy soccer game. Like, you should talk to them about either sponsorships or selling them player notes or whatever it is. And so they did. And they were like, they want to talk to you because you're our soccer guy. And the funny thing about RotoWire is at the time, I was basically the only full-time employee who knew anything about soccer. And so every time there was any company that was like, hey, we're interested in soccer, they were like, whoa, hold on. Let's get Laird on the phone. For SoRare back then. And this was in early 2020, maybe mid 2020. I don't know. SoRare had like 8 employees. And he told me all about SoRare. And Top Shot had been a big thing. This was like post COVID, but things were still not like totally open. But so I kind of knew about NFTs, but not really. I never got into Top Shot, so it's not like I could speak intelligently on that. But so Brian explained SoRare to me. And he was like, yeah, you buy these cards, which are NFTs, and you can buy and sell them. And there's a fantasy game. And he went through the whole thing. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. Yeah, we'll definitely do something. And I remember hanging up the phone and being like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. And I was like, why would anybody buy a JPEG, let alone a JPEG to play a fantasy game? And TM said, I remember listening to those shows with like Luis, Natural Slugger, and Davis Maddock. Yeah, Luis and I used to do a ton of content. I don't know if Davis and I ever did. But Luis, Natural Slugger, and Davis did. Yes. At what was the name of theirs? What was the name of the site that they all did stuff for? It doesn't exist anymore, which is why I can't remember what it is. Oh, what was it? Anyway, so I thought it was really stupid, but I was like, whatever. It's a client for RotoWire. And it took me a while to buy. They gave me a couple free cards so I could play Rare All-Star, so I could get the threshold. It took me a while to buy a card. Eventually, I bought a card because I was like, I convinced myself that it didn't matter that I thought these things were worthless. As long as somebody else thought they were worth something, then they had value. And I remember being on a treadmill at the gym looking at the market, and João Felix was coming up, and I ended up winning the João Felix. So I was like, oh, that looks cheap. And that's when I was like, I just spent $350 on a JPEG. I have no idea what I'm doing. Now that I wonder if I actually spent $350. I forgot another key point. When I was talking to Brian and he was like trying to explain to me how everything worked, he said, the best thing you can do is go to this site called SoRare Data and you'll see everything there. João Felix was $378. So that's how I got to know about SoRare Data. So Surface, what's up? Thanks for coming in. So I started to get into SoRare a little bit, and then the Gary V boom happened, and I made a decent amount of money that turned out to not be nearly enough because I ended up not really selling that much. And I appreciate you guys with the 100 ETH jokes now. So for those of you who don't know, I bought this card, and the value of João Felix after that skyrocketed because Gary V came in and bought the João Felix unique. And I sent a message to my friend PSU fans too, because I was thinking I had gotten an offer for 1 ETH for that João Felix. And then I think I got an offer for 3 ETH. And I was like, how much do you think this card could be one day? And PSU fans too told me it could be worth, he was like, I don't know, maybe it could be like 100 ETH. And I was like, okay, I won't sell for 3. And now I can't even sell it for $100. In fact, the last João Felix rare sold for $6.62. So, what's this? What is seal value? 20? Oh, well. So I started playing SoRare a little bit, and then this guy contacted me asking if TM said Roto Grinders. Roto Grinders wasn't where they worked before. It was before Roto Grinders. They had their site. But anyway, so I started playing RotoWire, started playing SoRare, and this guy contacts me and he's like, hey, do you have any stats for the Jupiler Pro League? I just became a member. And I was like, we don't. And I was like, why are you looking for Jupiler Pro League? And he's like, well, for SoRare. And I was like, man, this is another guy with SoRare. And I had like started to get a little bit into SoRare. And I said, would you have any interest in doing a stream with me to talk about SoRare? And he was like, sure. And I'm going to see if I can pull it up. The Felix is now part of your origin story. When you write a book like your dad, this will be in it. Yeah, absolutely. Let me see if I can pull up. Gosh, I wonder if. Actually, I should be able to find it. Hold on. Here we go. So I did a couple videos by myself called Introduction to SoRare, How to Get Started on SoRare. And then I did one called What's the Deal with SoRare? And that's the first stream. This was, let's see, March 12th, 2021. So I did my first stream with someone else about SoRare. And just before we start, he says, by the way, literally there's a countdown timer going to start the stream. And he says, by the way, my name is also Andrew. And that was the first SoRare Andrews right here. What's the deal with SoRare? I look so young. My God. Andy's office hasn't changed. And I used to have that RotoWire. That's a real background, actually, like a media background. And so then I started doing SoRare content. And eventually I did, looks like you were held hostage. Yeah, I might have. And then on, let's see, March 26th, I did this one. I interviewed Maxime talking about SoRare Data. That's what SoRare Data looked like back then. I don't know if we ever actually got off the homepage. Yeah, I guess not. And I started doing, a bunch of SoRare content, and I realized that I was having more fun doing the SoRare content than the daily fantasy content. And at that time, SoRare Andrews, I think I'd done like 2 or 3 more, and then we decided to keep doing it. I'm just looking at this. I did a video called How to Make Money on SoRare that has 12,000 views 4 years ago. My God. 12,000. I had no idea. Anyway, so I was doing SoRare Andrews once a week, playing SoRare more than DFS. And the interesting thing about my DFS is, so I played DFS in order to know what I was talking about, but I wasn't good enough at DFS to like really be successful. I have long described it. I was good enough to just keep playing. So I would win enough where I didn't have to deposit, but I never won so much that I would stop playing. And I just was starting to get a little burned out by it. And SoRare was like this great alternative. Now, granted, when I was doing it, it was like, hey, if you buy a card, it's going to go up 20% because somebody sneezed. But the game itself was fun. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And so kind of over the years, or over the next like year or two, I was just much more interested in SoRare. And I remember, so basically like my job was doing DFS content, writing about the Premier League, organizing all of the lineups and predicted lineups and our cheat sheets and all this stuff. We had a Discord that I ran. And RotoWire used to do this trip every year because most of the people who work for RotoWire work remotely. And so once a year over the Major League Baseball All-Star break, they would fly all the full-time employees out to Vegas, and they would invite all of the other contributors, and we would hang out in Vegas for like 3 days. It was like Sunday, you arrived Sunday night, left Wednesday morning. So you had all day Monday, all day Tuesday, and then you had Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. Everybody went home early Wednesday. And I remember it was post-COVID, but people were still wearing masks. Like some people were still wearing masks, but Vegas had opened up enough that not everybody was. But anyway, I was walking down the strip with my friend Jason, and I said we had very similar roles, but in different sports for RotoWire. And at that time, I said to him, that the job that I had at RotoWire at that time was the only job I was qualified for on earth. And that I had such a niche, job that using the that the skills that I were developing literally couldn't be used for anything else. And that if I ever needed to find a job, I wouldn't even know where to start to look, because what I did, like the job that I had at RotoWire didn't exist anywhere else, because there isn't another company like RotoWire. There's some that are kind of like it, but they might not have had a soccer department. And it just like, if I ever needed a new job, it would just have to be something completely different. While I was on that walk, I got a Discord message from Maxime Hagen-Bourget, who is the founder of SoRare Data, that said, and at the time, SoRare Data was like a side project to him. And the message said something like, I'm raising money to turn SoRare Data into a company. Would you like to work for me? Let me rephrase. Would you like to work with me? He was always very specific that like we worked together and not, I didn't work for him. And it was crazy timing, because I was literally telling somebody I had skills that didn't translate to any other job on earth. And maybe the one other job that somebody else had contacted me and asked if I was interested. And so I ended up talking to Maxime after I got back from Vegas. He explained to me kind of like what he wanted to do with SoRare Data. And I had been really into SoRare, and it was an opportunity to join a company that I thought would last forever, or as long as SoRare lasted. And I remember telling my wife about it, and she's like, who is Maxime? And I was like, oh, he's this guy that I met. Like I had never met Maxime in person. I'd only talked to him on Discord or on live streams. And it was probably only one live stream, but we were in a Discord together. And the idea of going to work for this guy who lives in Paris and is starting a company, and I was employee number one. Aurelian, who's one of the designers at SoRare Data, was, I think, doing like hourly work at the time, but Aurelian and I were the first like real employees of SoRare Data. And she was like, this is crazy. Like, what do you, and she was right. Maxime was like 28 at the time, I think. And I was basically like talking to my wife. We had 3 kids at the time. I had a very stable job at a nice company in Madison, Wisconsin, that with people that I loved working with. And she's like, you're going to give that up to join this company with this French guy that deals with this SoRare game. Like, she didn't even really understand SoRare. I was like, yeah, I think this is what I want to do. And it was a total leap of faith that she was okay with. I think, well, actually, I don't even know if she was totally okay with it, but she clearly saw that I was really passionate about this and was all about it. And it reminds me, there was this kind of meme that was going around recently. It said like, behind every great content creator is a wife with a stable job. And that's exactly me. I felt totally seen when I saw that. So I ended up going to work for SoRare Data as the head of content there. And my job at the time was basically to create like a lot of guides of how to use SoRare Data. And I remember we did a stream about when I basically did streams of like how to use SoRare Data with Maxime or with guests. Like SoRare Andrews continued, but on that channel. And then I did my first solo live stream was a show called like My Favorite SoRare Data Tools or something like that. And there were like 12 people who ever watched it in total. I don't think anybody was in the live chat, and it was a disaster. It was awful. And that was actually after I'd done a live stream with Maxime to talk about the new mobile app. And I remember we started when we launched the mobile app, we did a live stream about it, and I couldn't get Maxime's volume to work. And it was a disaster, just pure disaster. Mike, I didn't agree to work for Maxime when I was in Vegas or shortly thereafter, but I did we did start talking about it when I was in Vegas. And it was the middle of the day, so I probably wasn't drunk yet. But the cool thing when I joined SoRare Data was that because we didn't have that many employees, we were kind of all doing different jobs that needed to get done, but a lot of it was just us building it together. And it was just super fun building like that. And the thing that interested me almost the most about working with Maxime was how quickly he developed things. That people would be like, "Hey, it would be really cool if you could do this," and it felt like within a couple hours it was done. And that was just really cool to me. And building it up was awesome. And so, but over the years, we ended up hiring more people in order to do more things. That when we launched Rain Metrics to cover rainmakers, and we just kind of like grew a lot faster. And my job ended up becoming more defined, which looking back, I actually, not that I didn't like it that much, but I was like less involved with the building process. I would test things out, but it was only like after everything had been done. And a lot of that is because Clement, who you guys have seen as Vitali, like Clement is a genius. And so it's not like I would have only slowed them down anyway, but it was just, I wasn't involved in the building anymore, which was kind of a bummer, but it also came at a time when I was streaming more. And so that's when we started kind of like streaming every day. And I think my job went from less teaching people how to use SoRare Data and more just using SoRare Data as part of your life on SoRare. And so when we launched the SoRare Data memberships, the content basically had to change to how do we get people to sign up? And so a lot of the content ultimately was like using the SoRare Data tools to show people why they were worth paying for. And over the years, and Maxime talked about this when I streamed with him a while ago. I don't remember when that was. It was shortly, I think it was in June. Oh man, sorry, I froze up again. If you want to hear from Maxime himself about what happened to SoRare Data, I have a stream with him back in I think it was June, talking all about it. But anyway, the way that with ultimately when it became clear SoRare Data was going to close, it was like, well, what do I do next? And I had started to really love live streaming every day, talking about SoRare. And so I made the decision to continue to do it by creating my creating the Patreon. And Maxime was willing to let me have the SoRare Data channel, which is what you guys are all watching right now, except on Twitch or on X, where you're on my own. But I thought that I could provide a service to people who liked SoRare content. And the way that I chose to monetize that was through the Patreon. So I remember when I announced that I was leaving SoRare Data, because I left before it closed, and then I was starting the Patreon. I went away that weekend because my son had a basketball tournament. But I remember doing the stream, saying I was starting the Patreon. I got in the car and I was just getting like email alerts of people signing up. And it was just such a surreal experience, seeing people who were immediately willing to support my content. And I was gone that whole weekend. And I remember Monday, that was Friday night. On Monday, I started basically my new channel as trying to see if I could make enough from the Patreon to be a full-time SoRare content creator, which is something that like a lot of people have tried to do. And it's just not that easy, because even the universe of SoRare is not big enough that even if every single person watched me, it's not enough views to like just have that be a way to pay for it. JPS said it pushed me from lurker to contributor, although I'm not sure that's a good thing. It's a great thing, JPS. But ultimately, my hope was that I would get enough people to join the Patreon that this is what I could do for a living. And then I started playing MFL. Then Football.Fun came, and sponsorships become part of it when you do content. Pretty much at any size, like once you get to a certain size, and I'm not actually even in that size yet, but I happen to have been fortunate enough to get some sponsorships. But every content creator at some point, whether they have YouTube memberships or Patreons or whatever, like they will have people who sponsor their stuff as well. And that's sort of the dual revenue that you get as a sponsor. It's either affiliates, sponsorships, and then people, if you're that type of creator, who pay you directly. Now, not everybody does that. Like Nep, I don't think has direct memberships. He might on Twitch actually, but like on YouTube, just the tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people who watch his videos, I think YouTube gives him enough money to do that. I don't know for sure, but somebody who does SoRare content or MFL or Football.Fun right now, it's just the universe of people who watch is just not big enough. And so that's why I'm super grateful for the people who have joined the Patreon, because I feel like that's my deepest connection to those viewers, that they're willing to take money that, hard-earned money that they could spend on anything, and are generous enough to do it on my channel. And I've kind of said this before, but I don't think it really hits, but like the more people who join the Patreon, the less I have to think about sponsorships. And while I don't spend dozens of hours thinking about sponsorships, there are, like, I probably should, to be honest. And ultimately that leads to you guys seeing ads of things. And what I really don't want to do is just have ads. Like the reason I talk about, and I want to have deals with companies like Football.Fun and MFL, is because I play them. I really enjoy them. And I think other people would enjoy them. And so if it can work for all of us, that, I have a game I like to play, you then are introduced to a game that hopefully you like to play, and then we can play that game together. The company that has that game benefits from us playing it, and then it just kind of is a circular thing. And that's kind of like how content works. And that's where I am right now, where we talk about different games and hang out together. And hopefully this is something that like potential sponsors see, and they're like, oh, that's a community of people who like have fun and like these things, and are willing to spend money to do it. And we are here talking about what we find fun about the games, or tips and strategies to make better. Like, we're all playing these games with the hope that we get better at them and that we are successful at it. And I think a community effort to do that is far greater than trying to do it by yourself. I think that's all I'm going to talk about that. If you guys have any questions, I'm certainly happy to answer them. And if you're watching this or listening to it and you're like, oh, okay, I get it now, I would like to become a Patreon member, there it is, patreon.com/AndrewMLaird, link in the description. Ego Player said, battery dying, in my opinion. Which battery? Your battery or my battery? Pierre said, can I just say that was, oh, thank you. I don't know what was amazing about it, but I'll take it. But that's my story. And I think I look at these games a little bit differently than a lot of people. Did you ever think about rejoining RotoWire after leaving SoRare Data? Yes, I did, Pierre. Dobsy said you can join the Patreon for as little as $5 a month, and that's a fancy coffee. Frankly, fancy coffees cost more than that. Let's go numb from that chair. I feel great. How has your time post SoRare Data been? Are you enjoying being a solo content creator? So Ben, I've loved it. And I think one of the problems, I would even say, is I really love it. And so I want to be able to do this for as long as I can. And a lot of that is out of my hands. And that part's a little scary. I will also say that I loved all of the people I worked with at SoRare Data, and not talking to them every day about like building really cool things is like a really big void, which can't be filled by what I'm doing now. Like I worked with some brilliant people, and so I miss that part. But I think but like I said, what I'm doing now, I love. I literally play games and talk about them for a living, and I think a lot of people would love to do that. And right now, I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that, and I would love to be able to keep doing it. And one of the things I wanted to kind of touch on is I feel like the reason. Sorry, I'm trying to think of a way to say this where I'm not insulting everybody. But I think one of the positives about my experiences is that it allows me to look at things slightly differently than other people. And I have that advantage just because of what I've done. So I worked in finance for a long time. I have a master's in sports business. I know how businesses work. I know how businesses that focus on sports work. And so when I see things that people are talking about, like that, oh, just get McDonald's to sponsor the League One contests, I understand why that doesn't happen and why it doesn't work. And I understand how markets work. And I think that differentiates me from maybe everybody who does SoRare content. Now, that doesn't mean that that's the SoRare content everybody should be doing. Talking about that is very different than somebody talking about the best U23 players for the next 3 years. Like, there's plenty of SoRare content to go around. Don't get me wrong. But I genuinely think that my experience allows me to share a perspective that's just different than a lot of people. And I'm not saying it's better, but it's different. And so it being able to do this solo content creation, I have a very clear understanding of like what has to get done for that to be successful. Whereas I think a lot of people will start doing content. They're like, oh yeah, I'll do this. And if I make a little money, that's great. And then when they start to make some money, they're like, oh, I want to do this full time, and really don't know what it takes to do that. And I just feel like I have a better understanding of how to do it. Story was great. Cook something and the time flew by. Jens, what did we cook? Pierre said, I guess it was just a well-told story. Usually after like 10 minutes of stories, I just press away, but this was over half an hour and I was so locked, I brought my laptop with me to the bathroom. Hopefully you're at home and not at work. The chair should make it into the book. JPS, this is a great question. Does it feel strange that some of your friends in the space are sort of competitors like Harry, Harry, Quinny, and Nep, etc.? So I don't consider them competitors at all. And the reason that's the case is because I think there's more than enough time for everybody to take in all of the content that we do. So I don't think that I don't think we ever necessarily stream at the exact same times. I guess Nep does, but it's not always about SoRare, MFL, or certainly not Football.Fun. But I think what's really good about particularly like the SoRare content space, actually MFL is exactly the same. All of the content creators are super supportive of each other because we know that if there's better content out there, meaning if there's good content out there available for people to watch, that means more people are going to become interested in that subject. And if more people are interested in SoRare, they are going to eventually find your content. Rising tide raises all boats. Yeah, which is a phrase I used last week and totally screwed it up. Sorry, I just looked outside because it got very dark. There's like a extremely dark cloud outside. And Dobbs, I think this is right. So Dobbs said, I watch all four, and I think all are unique in their own way, which is exactly how I feel. And but what's also great about that is like the hour I spend or 2 hours I spend like streaming with Harry every week is like a a full highlight of my week. Like that is one of the best times of my week. In a week that's filled with like really good experiences because if I'm if this is my job, like I love doing this. And so um I don't feel them to be competitors at all. I would say every one that I talk to, and I talk to all of them regularly, they're always very supportive of my content or of questions I have, or I'm like, hey, have you seen anything like this happening? Or, oh, why did you think that video did really well? Like, I actually really like talking about that stuff. And so I don't consider us competitors at all. And I don't really know if we, again, we're not, none of us are at a point where it's like, if you're watching me, you're not watching Harry. Like, there's so much time that can be spent watching all of us that um, I'm just super fortunate that they are friends of mine um, because I really love talking to them. Jens went simple noodles with garlic baked with scrambled eggs. Love it. How many hours on average do you spend as a solo content creator per week, all included? Um, what is so Pico player? That's a tough question to answer because, and I kind of mentioned this. I don't know if I mentioned it last Friday or it was a different stream, but obviously, if I play these games, like I play these games because I really like them. So there are times where I mean, most of the time I'm playing these games is not on stream. I talk about them on stream because I don't talk about them out loud any other time. But the um the I don't I don't necessarily know when I'm playing a game where that's me playing the game on my own or if that's just part of playing the game for work. Um so like hours spent as a solo content creator, there are times where I'm working on thumbnails or I'm writing up my thoughts. I just started a new kind of like weekly Monday. Here's what I observed this game week. Um, blog post that goes out to my Patreon members. I do stuff for Football.Fun, like the weekly rankings, and I work on those. And while I certainly have times where I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, and I just start a stream, like I think about what I'm going to stream all the time. And my mom had a job years ago where she was like, a big part of my job is to think. And I think um, not a lot of people appreciate that that is part of most people's jobs is that you're being paid to think. You're not always being paid to physically produce something. And so just because I'm on stream now, if you're like, oh, he's working now because he's on stream and that's what he does. But a lot of the stuff that I talked about were things that I've been thinking about for days or all week or whatever it is. Or when I was listening to that Twitch CEO podcast, it was like that I'm not sure if I would listen to that if I didn't do this for work, but that's not really work. And like, does watching one of Harry's videos count as work? Because I think more when I worked at SoRare Data, I was interested to see how other people were using SoRare Data in their streams. But I am kind of just curious, like, what are people talking about when it comes to SoRare? And if there's something interesting about that, do I have something to add to that where I could make a show about it? Or what are people in Discord talking about? Because again, we go all the way back to I want to talk about what you guys want to hear about. Or if you're talking about something in your group chats or wherever, and that's something that people in the community are talking about, that's what I want to talk about. And so it's very difficult for me to say like these are the hours I'm working because does the 2 hours I spent on my laptop watching God knows what I had on the TV last night while I was doing my MFL teams, like is that me doing MFL work? I don't know how to count that. Have you talked to John recently? I talked to John sporadically. Um The last time was, I don't know, a week ago or so. Um, I was actually talking about meeting up with him, but I couldn't make it work myself. One day we'll all meet in Vegas, and well, I'm fine never going back to Vegas. I would love to do like a European tour, um, and just visit a bunch of people. There was like a SoRare meetup in London 2 or 3 years ago that I would have loved to go to, but I didn't. And SoRare Sevens, if that still existed, I would have like tried to do that, but it didn't. JPS said, I have all four in my soundtrack all day. Got a few hours spare if anyone else wants to put content out. I like to be supportive. Video idea is so important. So thinking is a big part. Yeah. Ben Johnson said, a university lecturer of mine used to sit on a chair, leaning back, looking at the ceiling for hours. When asked why, he would say, quote, I'm thinking it's a large part of being an academic, unquote. Loved him. I don't even think I mean, it is a large part of being an academic, but I think, not to keep using the word think, but it's super important. I try to have some measured takes on what I talk about during these streams. And usually that requires me thinking about it beforehand. And I also spend a lot of time thinking, how am I going to pay bills this month if this is how much I'm making, stuff like that. And so, talking earlier about if I should do shorter form videos, I think about that all the time. What should I do? How should I do them? To be honest, and I told this to Mike Baston a while ago, I admitted it to him, and I'm willing to admit it to you guys as well. A big reason I do live streams is because they don't need to be edited. And once they're done, they're done. And doing a polished video takes a lot of time. And I could do it for sure, but it's just I'm not sure it's worth the work time to get the benefit of those videos. Now, I will say the MFL videos that I did early on were less like I stopped editing out ums or oh wait, that's not what I meant and stuff like that. I just let it go because I think part of the reason you guys watch my content is because, as weird as it sounds, like it's not that polished. And so I don't know. Maybe I'll try um, some more short term videos. And obviously, if they don't work, they don't work. Whatever. I can easily stop them. I'm the boss. Ranjan, thinking with Laird, the next type of content, just you sitting in a wooden chair thinking. Just clip a live stream and turn it into a video. That's all the others do. So I agree that that's like a thing to do. But I'm just not sure it's worth, not that it's not worth doing, but even that takes a long time. I used like an AI clip generator once, and it was like the stuff it pulled out for SoRare just never made any sense. And it was like, all right, so now I got to do that myself. Yeah, Pierre is saying the same. Yeah, that is what NEP does, I think. I think that's the benefit of streaming for 8 hours a day is eventually you're like, oh, that's an hour show. That's a 30-minute show. That's a 20-minute show. Dobsy said, I think the majority of us enjoy the streams, just think the smallish videos may help with growth and new people. Absolutely could. Yeah. And I'm not against doing a video where it's just like, hey, this is what I did this week. This is why I did this. Tune in that's what I should do. Tune in for a further discussion on the next SoRare with Laird. But maybe I will. Maybe I will. You could craft live on stream and just make it into a video. Yeah, I could probably do that. I assume that's what Nep does with his crafting videos. Harry's aren't live though, I don't think. He like crafts and then goes back. But again, I think a lot of it is that the live chat is a important character in my videos. Just makes it slightly less intimidating for a new person to click on a 20-minute video over a 2-hour one. Yeah, that's totally fair. Totally fair. What are we at? 205. Look at that. This is probably the longest video I've done in a while. Let's see. 140. Yeah, I don't know if I've gone to 2 hours. I feel like this flew by too. But I don't know. We'll see. Did the shorts you did for SoRare Data work out? Normally, shorts should boost your channel. No. So the shorts were a tough thing for SoRare Data because shorts are good to get people to subscribe to a channel, but they tend not to watch any additional videos on your channel, and it's the additional videos that eventually that get money. And like if you're monetized, like YouTube will show ads on those where they watch time is really important. And so it's weird. Like shorts are good for growing subscribers, but they're not good for growing viewers, if that makes sense. JPS, I have a new dongle. Thank you to Andy. Thanks to Andy Black. So my battery has been charged, so I'm still at 100%. The legs are not struggling at all. The legs feel great. I even went for a walk, although I got away from my 10,000 steps, and that's tough for me. 20 seconds to 1.5 hours is a big ask. Yeah. So I also just don't have the personality for shorts. I am just not like entertaining in short bursts like that. And just being like, hey, look at this. I'm going to do like, that's just not me. Makes sense, but only if a low percentage will watch long format content, it should be worth it. So Blue Tomatoes, the only way for me to grow, to try to get like a lot of subscribers from shorts is to stop talking about SoRare and Football.Fun and MFL. And it just becomes like a general football channel. And there are enough of those out there anyway that I don't think anybody's like really looking to subscribe to a channel with a bunch of shorts of some American talking about soccer. So maybe there is. I don't know. And the sun is out, and yet the darkest of clouds. You can make shorts of funny parts of your live streams. I could, but I think a lot of them are like, we know why they're funny. We don't, not everybody does. It's a weird, I'm in a weird spot because it's very niche content. JPS said, I mean, a 20-minute stream would have helped today. My mom is coming to stay, and I was meant to tidy. Instead, I've enjoyed this. At 30, I'll still be in trouble when she gets here. Just put it up on the TV. Oh, pineapple shorts. Oh, maybe we hook them all in with fruit cutting shorts. And we're like, if you love cutting up pineapples, you would love SoRare. Get 150 euros in credits when you use the link in the description. Promo code Pineapple Cuts. That's kind of a weird one, I guess. Oh my gosh, I had somebody playing today, scored 20 points. Just having random unrelated shorts would be funny. Might be. I was very close to doing this stream outside today, but it looks very windy, so I'm glad I didn't do it. But it was Mike Baston said that I should actually stream outside one day. So maybe we'll do that next week. Sorry, I pulled up my phone for something, and I don't remember what I was looking up. More IRL content for the shorts or for yeah, shorts or just general stuff. I don't know. We'll see. You guys got anything else? I've got MFL teams to put together. Oh my gosh, so we're MLB. Please don't tell me there was an early deadline today. Now you're getting a real content creator. Oh, we got 4.5 hours for MLB. Let's go. Let's go. I don't even know what IRL content I would talk about other than pineapple cutting. I'll cut up a watermelon too. I had Alessio Zerbin playing right now. He apparently subbed off after with 50 points. I was about to craft a rare card on MLB, but I don't have enough. Oh, I get to claim my midweek glory. You guys want to do that with me? Let's do this and then we can finish up. I got promoted. All-star into Division 1. Let's go. No, so I won 1,000 essence, 500 XP. Ron, I still need to finish up my MFL teams. Knocked out half last night. Wow. How many teams are you up to, Ron? Let's see. 41 teams. Whew. The fact that you've yet to craft a single football card is mental. Yeah, I don't know, man. We'll get there. Pierre, I have 48,000 total lessons, but I don't have. It's split up between 30,000 in limited. Oh, now that we have more, let's see. Did I get rid of MLS yet? Oh, 2%. Oh, come on. And let's see. Rares at 17,000, but I have a bunch in play for this weekend. Like I did 11%. Oh my God. Interested in playing and streaming sports games like Football Manager. I've never played Football Manager, so I don't think that would be interesting to me. I would stream more MFL games, but the two reasons I don't is one, the times tend not to be ideal for me. Like late afternoon, all of my kids are home, and it's just not the great time. And not to say I won't do it, but that's why I don't. And then me like tinkering with the teams doesn't seem like it's all that interesting either. So next week you have to explain why you didn't do a single craft yet. That's fine. I can do that. If the essence stuff is actually correct, you have 600 MLS essence. I mean, we'll see. I hope it's a good video. We'll do it next week. I would absolutely love to see you play FM. I mean, it doesn't even exist. That's why we play MFL. Obviously it exists, but I think I may have tried to play it once and it was just like so overwhelming that I was like, I can't do this. But maybe one day we'll do it. Maybe. But I really like, I feel like the reason I like MFL so much is because they're not real. They're real in the metaverse, excuse me. Whereas FM, it's like they're real, but they're also not, because you can just play them anywhere. FM is a spreadsheet nerd's wet dream. Yeah, see, so I don't even really love spreadsheets. I just use them because again, you work years in finance, you just learn how to like use spreadsheets, but I don't love spreadsheets. And spreadsheet content, nut low. A Patreon FM save where people suggest transfers and tactics. I mean, like I said, sometimes you guys are the boss. And so if I have to start playing FM, maybe I will. But also, why can't we just do this with my MFL teams? I guess because I'm playing other people, I don't necessarily want everybody to know what's going on. I still have to find home for Stuart Freeman. I got to reach out to a White House. It could consume you. When stream with Sean, would like to hear his opinion about SoRare 26. Sean is super busy this time of year. But I'll see. College football is like his busiest time, meaning college American football. And so he's usually just swamped this time of year. But we'll see. Yeah. I haven't even eaten lunch. What else you guys want to talk about? Or are you guys done? I'm okay if you guys have had enough. Is what it is. 3,000 hours on FM11. It seems like a lot, but I don't know. I don't know what's for lunch. I got to figure that out when I go downstairs. I'm loaning out lots of my players this season if Empire's looking for loans. Ranjan, we are definitely looking for loans. What we're not looking to do is give up rev share, though. So got a bit of a catch-22 there. All right, Blue Tomatoes is done. It's Bundesliga time. Who's playing today? What do we got? Hamburg against St. Pauli. Ooh, that's a fun one. For sure. Yeah, that's cool. That's my sticking point. As it should be. I get it. Maybe we can figure something out, Ranjan. Yeah, Hamburg Derby, right? Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, we'll call it a day. I think that was pretty fun. What are we at? 2 hours and 17 minutes. So this is why I love the live chat, because that flew by to me. And it was a super fun day at work. How about that? I spent my first 2 hours of the day watching Harry and Quinny, at least my work hours. And then I went on a little walk while I figured out what I was going to talk about on this stream, meaning the specifics. Then we did this 2-hour stream. And so my kids will be home soon-ish. And I got some MFL teams to work on, and maybe I'll start, what's the word? Diagramming is not the right word, but some short form videos. I don't know. What is the record for longest stream? Like my record or the all-time record? Whatever the all-time is safely away from me. I don't know what mine is. This might be it. I don't know. I haven't gone back to look. Maybe I'll do that one day. Maybe I'll work by seeing how long my record is. Or if we just set it. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you to everyone for coming, particularly everybody who spent the last 2 hours in the live chat. You guys are the real MVPs. Could not do this without you. If you could please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Shout out to Quinny. Feel free to go over to Quinny 3001, subscribe to his channel, subscribe to Harry Trades, Nep, anybody else who does SoRare content. All of that stuff like matters, even if it doesn't necessarily matter to get sponsorships or more viewers. Just having people subscribe and know that people know that they're there is really helpful. So check that out. If you want to support my content even further, patreon.com/Andrew M. Laird, link in the description. Less than a fancy cup of coffee. Frankly, it's like borderline the same price as a standard cup of coffee, which is outrageous. But it all means a lot. And so I thank you for those who have contributed and for those who are thinking of it. If there's anything I can do to convince you, just let me know. So I will be back on Monday. It is Labor Day here in the United States, but I'm not taking off. SoRare Spotlight over on the SoRare channel. You will find me there at 11 a.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock in the UK, 5 o'clock in Central Europe. And I don't know. We'll see what we want to talk about then. But thank you, everybody. Good luck this weekend. And please make sure you spend some of it outside.